We've been told for decades that for fantasy to be mature, it has to be miserable. But when grimdark authors were busy competing for the highest body count, and not like that, something strange happened. The most cynical readers in the world started trading gore for tea shops. Why is a low-stakes book about latte-serving orcs actually the most radical thing you can read in 2026? And no, I'm not exaggerating. Legends Lattes outsold several series, fantasy releases that have more corpses than characters. Apparently, the real path to enlightenment wasn't a battlefield. It was a bakery. Cozy fantasy didn't come out of nowhere. If you grew up in the late 90s and early 2010s, your emotional diet was basically Avatar: The Last Airbender, Adventure Time, Steven Universe, for the girls, My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, every anime where friendship literally defeats gods. We were raised on found family, not found trauma. So when this generation grew up, they didn't want another The First Law or Prince of Thorns clone. They wanted stories where characters actually talked, heal, and grow, not brood in a corner like they're getting paid by the hour. We went from the power of friendship to the power of therapy, and honestly, that's character development. The corporate sanitization of fantasy. Here is the part nobody likes to admit. Cozy fantasy is corporate friendly. Bro, you can't get into trouble for cinnamon roll baking elf. You can't spark a Twitter war with a goblin barista. You can't offend advertisers with a magical cat cafe. Well, you probably could find a way. Compare that to the grimdark titles like The Blade Itself, The Poppy War, A Song of Fire and Ice. They're brilliant books, some of my favorite. But they're also landmines for risk-adverse publishers. So the industry quietly shifted towards low stakes, soft emotion, domestic magic, vibes first storytelling. So many modern authors, and first-time authors especially, are defaulting to this style of writing that has the best chance not only to attach to an audience, but to get backing by publishers. So if a book can be adopted into a Netflix series and a scented candle, publishers are all in. Cozy fantasy now dominates the ecosystem. It dominates discourse. Every major conversations online eventually circles back to the cozy fantasy trend. Comfort first, found family, vibes over plot. I want to live in this fictional bakery. Meanwhile, epic fantasy fans are in the corner like, guys, the world is ending. Can we talk about it? Cozy fantasies like the very secret society of irregular witches. The discourse looks like, this book healed my inner child. Then you have The Witcher, where Geralt needs a nap, and honestly, after reading it, so did I. We used to debate the nature of evil. Now we debate which fictional pastry we'd order. It dominates social media. Cozy fantasy is algorithmic catnip. Warm lighting, cottage core aesthetics, soft magic, cute creatures, quotes that sound like they belong on a mug. Grimdark clips look like someone dropped a camera into a war crime. One gets you serotonin, the other one gets you a wellness check. I'm looking at you, the Black Company. It dominates the publishing market. If you're a debut author, guess what sells? A book that promises comfort, healing, emotional safety, a gentle world. Publishers know this. That's why cozy fantasy gets big pastel marketing push. Examples: Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. The marketing, that whimsical fonts, soft greens, curl up in the magical delight. Then you have The Broken Empire. Marketing, the book will emotionally destroy you. Good luck. One gets a sticker that says heartwarming. The other gets a warning label. Next, it dominates new author debuts. Again, agents tell new writers, don't go too dark, don't go too thematic, don't go too violent, don't alienate readers. So what's left? Tea shops, found family, low stakes, domestic magic. It's like the industry collectively said, what if fantasy? But everyone hydrated and was emotionally stable. Let's talk about the grimdark nihilism backfire. For years, grimdark sold itself as the mature alternative, but the genre pushed so hard into misery, cynicism, trauma, narcissism, abuse, moral rot, and helplessness that readers eventually snapped. People don't reject darkness, they rejected emptiness. Some examples of book causing burnouts include Grimdark, The Poppy War, Trauma Olympics, The First Law, Everyone is Awful and Nobody Wins, A Song of Fire and Ice. Oh, was that your favorite character? Well, he's dead now. Deal with it. Cozy fantasy isn't just comfort. It's a rebellion against the idea that suffering equals depth. After a decade of Grimdark, readers said, actually, I'd like one nice thing. The cozy fantasy problem. It still needs a story. Here's the twist. Cozy fantasy fans don't always want to hear. Cozy fantasy still needs to say something. A book can be soft, warm, and comforting, but it still needs theme, a point, a character arc, a conflict, something new to say. Otherwise, you become nothing more than aesthetic wallpaper, a vibe playlist with page numbers, a story that evaporates the moment I close the book. Some examples that do this well are Legends Lattes. It was about reinvention, chosen identity, second chances. The House in the Cerulean Sea. Sorry if I said that wrong. Found family, prejudice, and belonging. Emily Wilde talks about social anxiety, connection, and self-worth. A cozy fantasy without a theme is just a Hallmark movie with goblins. Cozy fantasy isn't taking over because readers are soft. It's taking over because readers are tired. Tired of stories that confuse brutality with maturity, modern world trauma porn, endless, grim, dark misery fed in every source of media. No matter what you do, someone will bring up a recent war, a law they don't like, a president coming for them, all day, every day. It's an endless funnel of the world is bad and you're going to die. Is it any wonder people want something soft and warm to enjoy? Cozy fantasy is the countercultural movement of a generation raised on emotional intelligence and are tired of political yellow journalism feeding them a doomsday theory. There's always one mistake away. It's not the absence of stakes. It is the presence of care. People are searching for a world they want to imagine themselves in, instead of a world that feels like a punishment only the worst criminals should have. Cozy fantasy isn't the death of epic storytelling. It's the backlash to a decade of hollow darkness. And whether you love it or hate it, one thing is clear. The quiet revolution of tea shops and found family is reshaping the fantasy landscape more than any dragon could. Actually, you've obviously never read Tolkien's Anna Calder the Black because he could